Hello, welcome back to Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company. Coming to you today with an episode in regards to a potential project that I'm hopeful will happen in the near future. There's been a lot of chatter about this particular project on the Discord page. Link is in the description below if you'd like to join. A lot of people are saying to me, this is a project that needs doing. There's currently proposals for a Metrolink style system in Dublin. However, this is a legacy system, it's inefficient, it's going to cost an absolute fortune and take a lot longer than predicted to finish. So I'm come up with my own system which I believe is much more efficient, much more cost effective and will actually move more people for less money. So let's have a look. So, a boring vision for the Dublin-Loop in Ireland. So, this is a proposal. There's been no mention of this as of yet via the Boring Company. However, we're looking to build publicity for this particular proposal. We're looking to highlight all the benefits that this will offer over other legacy systems. And as you will see from this presentation, it beats every other possible system in every conceivable way and is expandable on top of that. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. The Dublin-Loop is a personalised mass transit system encompassing a network of interconnected tunnels that are used in conjunction with autonomous electric vehicles to allow the door-to-door movement of people with just a few simple clicks on an app. So Dublin, let's talk about the city of Dublin. It's obviously one of the biggest sort of historic cities in Western Europe. So the biggest city in Ireland. Has got a very young population and obviously it's a powerhouse in this region. It needs a modern functional transport system or mass transit system. Population is 1.17 million. The central business district is 123 square miles. It's located east of Leinster in the Republic of Ireland. Gross domestic produce or product of this this city is 106 billion euros. The INRIX traffic ranking, which basically ranks all Western cities, has it 52 out of 220, which is pretty darn bad when you look at the list and you look at some of the cities that are actually below Dublin in this ranking. Why Dublin? Why? For those reasons, I believe this is the perfect place to start in Western Europe. It is by far the largest and most congested city in Ireland with a young population and a growing economy. Therefore, it represents a large market into which the Boring Company can grow its ride-sharing services. So, the Dublin region accounts for more than 25% of Ireland's total population, with a population density of over 11,880 per square mile. Now, is this possible? As I've been saying from day one, absolutely complement each other. They allow us to put large throughput of people through this system, thus making other systems, other legacy underground systems look pretty inefficient in comparison to this. So, for this particular proposal, I'm going to propose two tunnels. The plan is that both tunnels will be completed at the same time, i.e. it would be possibly split between two contractors. Work would commence on the same day. We'd have maybe 50 different job sites to begin with, and then we'd work to interconnect all those job sites. There'd be a north-south tunnel and an east-west tunnel. They would be connected together. There would be 4 connections between each. Therefore, that would allow vehicles to go, say, from west to north, from west to south, if you get what I'm trying to say here. So these are the potential sort of points on the map where it's going to follow. Then I'll show you on the actual map itself. So starting point is Lissenhall Veterinary Hospital, which is just north of Swords, near Dublin. If we go through all these, it goes through the airport and it heads south towards the city centre. and then we get to it's very close to Sandyford Business Park at its final point, and then we're hoping to have a set of 2 ramps there so that vehicles can actually join the local motorway down there in the south. I think it's the M50, isn't it? If we look at the map, so here we go, we start off in the north, just north of Swords. Again, there's ramp. It starts off with a TBM launch pit that will be later converted into a dual ramp. That ramp will allow the electric vehicles to join the M1 at the nearby motorway junction, thus they can continue their journey up to 20 kilometres north if necessary to drop people off at their home address or office. It goes via or underneath Dublin Airport, so again there's going to be a lot of throughput through this particular tunnel, and it goes into the city centre. As you can see in the city centre, it goes mainly underneath roads. In occasions where necessary, it does go underneath buildings. I've been able to keep the radii of the curves pretty reasonable, in the region of 60 to 200 meters for curves. So in that respect, it's pretty good. We can keep the top speed above 125 miles per hour, and actual cruising speeds will easily exceed 150 miles an hour. As you can see, the latter half of this route is fairly straight, and it finishes up here in the south with links onto the M50 at the local motorway junction there. So again, the journeys can continue south, or they can even head west to Rockbrook or any other location that is within sort of 20 kilometres of this loop ramp. This is the overall route. It's fairly straight. I've made every attempt possible to keep this fairly straight. We have to run a lot of it under roads because I want to run the micro stations or the loop elevators alongside roads in existing parking spaces or in existing parking lots. That's where we'll run our feeder tunnels as well, alongside the main arterial tunnel. But in terms of actual curves and corners, have been kept to an absolute minimum. In Ireland, we can go underneath other buildings. That's going to be relatively easy to get planning approval for. So that's another advantage for actually building this system in Dublin. Probably one of the main advantages, really. So also we have this, the Tunnel B, which runs east to west. Slightly shorter than the north to south tunnel. However, it does connect many more key landmarks in Dublin itself, including the 2 main stadiums, the railway station, Phoenix Park, and a couple of other places. So it actually starts in Sean O'Casey Park. The reason for that is it's an easy place to put a launch pit for the TBM. That can also be converted into a ramp. And there's lots of spare land there. It goes via Aviva, the Aviva Stadium. It links up with Connolly Station there, so we're looking to have some loop elevators at Connolly Station in the streets outside or adjacent to it. It then goes to Croke Park, then on to the Phoenix Park, which is the very big park in Dublin, and then alongside Dublin Zoo, which is also near to that park. It heads to Liffey Valley, which is the main kind of shopping centre in Dublin, or on the outskirts of Dublin. Also links up with Western Airports. The reason I linked up to Western Airport is obviously there's a lot of land available there, and I imagine they would be quite happy with us linking them up. That might offer them options for maybe expanding the airport or leasing some of that land out for the AEVs to utilise it in the future. We end up close to junction 6 of the M4. Again, if vehicles need to head west, then they can come out of the system and join the local motorway, which enables them to serve the communities within 20 kilometres of that end point there. The Route B total length is 23.4 kilometres. So, in fact, we should start with this one. So, you start here at the park, go straight to Aviva Stadium, Again, I keep saying I've kept the number of curves to an absolute minimum. These can be possibly straightened out a little bit more. Certainly this route and the other route is subject to change. It can be changed if necessary. I think personally this is the best route. It's, I'd say, very straight indeed. There's very few corners, and it links all the major parts of Dublin that need to be linked. Thus, there'll be a lot of throughput on this particular tunnel. As you can see, it links up Connolly Station, Croke Park, Aviva Stadium, and then it goes on to Phoenix Park. Here's the total route. Here, total route length. There's Liffey Valley, which is around sort of just over halfway along the route. Links up with all the major sites in the city centre of Dublin. So, project costs. Obviously, this is the most critical part. I'm basing this off my own personal experience in the construction industry. Prices are subject to change, obviously. I've probably been maybe a bit cautious with some of these prices. They might be well above what they end up being, but I'd rather overestimate than underestimate. I'd rather promise little and then over-deliver, essentially. So, we have our base mark for our tunnel costs of 1 kilometre. It's going to be 6.8 million euros. I think that is incredibly pessimistic. I think it's going to be closer to 5. But for this particular project, again, I want to give a cost that is reasonably accurate. I don't want to undercost it, so we're saying 6.8. Route A is 28.2 kilometres. Obviously, there are two tunnels. There's a northbound tunnel and a southbound tunnel, so that equates to 383.6 million euros. Route B is 23.4 kilometres. Again, that's doubled because we have two tunnels, so that equates to 318.2 million euros. Feeder tunnels. This is obviously subject to a lot of change, but I think to begin with, 6.4 kilometres is reasonable and allow us to connect up quite a few elevators. More feeder tunnels could be added at a later date, and that'd be reasonably simple to do. So we start off with 6.4. I may make that slightly bigger in a future update, maybe around 7 to 7.5. So for now, let's consider that 54.4 million euros. I've got ventilation shafts. There may need to be a few additional escape shafts as well on top of that. But for now, let's say 12. That leaves us with 21 million euros. In terms of tunnel launch pits, we have 6 launch pits, so 3 on each route. That equates to 57 million euros. The actual loop elevators, so initially we'll start off with 60. That's 51 million euros. Or however, if they really wanted to, we can increase that to 120, which would be 102 million. But for now, we'll consider the 51 million euros as our starting point. Ramps. 8 ramps, total cost of 15 million. These will be mostly located in our launch pits, so the cost is relatively little, as long as the launch pits are fairly shallow, which I am hoping they will be. But let's not assume that they will be. It's possible that they might, so hence why it's 15 million and not a lot less. Underground stations, not necessary. We don't need underground stations for this particular project, so I have not included any. AEVs, or autonomous electric vehicles, I have us starting with 225. That gives us a total cost of 17.6 million. I believe these vehicles will be supplied via Tesla at a loss to Tesla because they want to help out the Boring Company, but obviously they will share in the profits of this system, so it makes sense for them to sell them at a reasonably sensible price. Also, if we order more, we get a bigger discount. So again, we've got 69 million euros for 1,000, which will take place over a 2-year period as they expand the system. The total cost of all this, if we include the items that at the lower end, is 969.2 million euros, so under a billion, which is 2 billion less than the proposed Metrolink, and this includes an additional east to west route. So let's just go over some key points of what we've done here. Naughty Benny, this is an estimate based on current information to hand. Geology will vary significantly along the route, thus consider the above to be accurate to within -8 to +8%. So what I'm essentially saying is that the geology of a particular area will be, or potentially could be, significantly different from an area that is less than 100 meters away. So geology will vary greatly depending on what area you are in. It can vary from one side of Dublin to the other side of Dublin. It can vary from one side of the street to the other side of the street. So it's very varied. It's very difficult without doing a series of trial pits and trial bores across the route to know exactly what sort of conditions we're going to meet. So I've just assumed the worst for all my estimates, and hopefully when we do, if this actually is built, it will come in more around the 850 million euro mark. That's what I think. Route A is designed to be very similar to the recently proposed Metrolink. It's almost an identical copy, other than that I've extended it at the bottom by around 3 kilometres, so it links up with the local motorway network. That way it can serve a greater number of people. Route B is intended to link many key sites in Dublin together with connections to Route A. So there will be a connection between Route A and Route B as well, so that will allow people to go to the airport, to go to the stadium, or go straight from the airport to the stadiums. So again, that helps everyone in Dublin. Future routes C and D could easily be added at a later date, doubling the network's capacity. So the whole point of the boring system is that we have lots and lots of tunnels crisscrossing a city, and the distance between tunnels could be less than 800 to 900 meters, and if you have tunnels every 800-900 meters, you end up with lots and lots of tunnels crisscrossing the city. Everyone's within 400 meters of an elevator or a station, and therefore there's no need for people to be walking or cycling or driving long distances to access the system. Initially, it will be a little bit more difficult to get access to the system, hence why I've tried to link up the motorways so that the pods can drive along the motorway network and use that when necessary, and then drop people off at hubs in maybe local towns or local areas. So that includes pick-up and drop-offs. Initially, the Dublin-Loop system will rely upon 225 AEVs with the aim to quadruple that number inside the first 2 years of operation. So the AEV is a modified Model X, heavily modified to enable a top speed and a longer range, and obviously allow up to I believe 16 passengers. It's probably more like 12 passengers, but it's possible to get 16 passengers in each pod. Tunnels will be constructed using new proof rock type TBM via 6 launch pits. TBMs will be used on various different projects in Ireland, so I've not included a cost for that because the intention is to use them up to 4 or 5 times. Maybe they might even be shipped across Europe for use on other projects. So it recycles itself basically. The proof rock TBM is the most efficient TBM. That's why I'm saying that the actual cost per kilometre of tunnel could be in the region of 5 million euros per mile when we actually come to build this. But for now, I've just taken Elon's estimates. I think he had $7.5 million per kilometre, and then I've equated that to euros. Project will be funded using 100% private equity, ensuring all cost overruns are absorbed by the Boring Company rather than the Irish taxpayer. So the actual local government is not funding this project. In no way are they giving money to the Boring Company. I mean, they could potentially lend money to the Boring Company, but the Boring Company will pay all that money back. But it's in the event that there's some kind of issues with building this project, it'll be up to the Boring Company to find additional money from other sources, and they will have to take 100% of that cost on the head to ensure that they get this project done. But they're going to make money building this, so they're not too bothered if it's very, very slightly over budget. And I think it will be way under budget as well, based on the technology that's coming to be utilised in the future, including the proof rock type TBMs. Not one residential home or historic building will need to be demolished to make way for Dublin-Loop's construction. This is not the project where we need to dig huge holes that disrupt communities and demolish buildings to make way for railway lines and things like that. It's not how we're going to operate. The intention is that nothing gets demolished, nothing is affected by subsidence, nothing on the surface. It's 99% the same as what it was before the work was undertaken. There may be some traffic issues in terms of when we're digging the micro stations and loop elevators, but that will be fairly short-lived, and in the long term will benefit the local community. Once operational, the loop will contribute zero carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, thanks in part to partnerships it develops with local renewable energy providers. So the Boring Company will attempt from day one to be carbon zero project. That might be quite difficult. We might be able to achieve 90% in the first year, but over a course of time, I expect them to build up the amount of battery packs and reserves they have for this system. Then they can store and utilize renewable energy as and when they need it. So they'll get somewhere in the region of 99 to 100% of the electricity from renewable sources long term. The concept of a high-speed personalized mass transit is no longer a pipe dream, thanks to legendary entrepreneur Elon Musk and the technology he has developed at the Boring Company, SpaceX and Tesla. We no longer need to invest large sums of money to build light rail systems like those proposed in Dublin. So the current Metrolink system that is proposed in Dublin isn't going to work. It's going to cost too much. It's going to be over budget. Instead, we can invest in technology that is future-proofed for the next 100 years. The future is very bright for Ireland and its people if it embraces autonomous vehicles and allows for the speedy approval of all tunnel projects. Summary of benefits. It significantly reduces Dublin's air pollution. We're going to be taking all, hopefully long term, all the taxis and all the minibuses off the streets of Dublin and replacing them with carbon neutral emission vehicles. Significantly reduces congestion in Dublin's CBD. We're going to be avoiding the streets altogether. We're going to be delivering people to their sites mostly via underground tunnels, thus the traffic on the surface will be reduced. Saves the local authority €2 billion. It'll probably end up being more like €3.5 billion because what I've seen for the Metrolink scheme in Dublin, it's an absolute nightmare. It's not going to work, and it's going to be way over budget and take at least 7, maybe 8, 9 years to complete. Eases congestion on existing trains and buses. So existing forms of public transport will benefit because other people will move onto the Boring Loop system, and thus it'll be less crowded, less congestion on these vehicles. Offers affordable travel for those working in the night economy. So there's lots of people in Dublin that work in the night economy. Sometimes they may have to get a taxi to get home at night. That can easily be in excess of €40. So having this option to use the Boring Loop system for, say €7 or €8, it makes perfect sense for them, and they can, use that money for other things. Okay, well, thank you for watching this episode, guys. I'm really keen to hear what you think about this particular proposal. There's been a lot of chatter on the Discord page. We have a lot of people in support of this project, a lot of people pushing for it. I know one person in particular, we're very happy to see this video has gone out because he is a big supporter of Dublin and the Dublin-Loop, and hopefully we will hear a bit more from that person in the near future in regards to this scheme. So please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you've not done so, please join me on Discord, Twitter and Instagram. I'd appreciate some feedback on this episode and any other episodes. What do you think about the Boring Company building in Dublin? Is this a good idea? Can they make money out of this? Or is this going to cause some issues for the Boring Company in terms of making money in Dublin? What do you think? Be honest with me. Okay, thank you to all my Patreons, Ashley, Mike, David and Christopher. Thank you for watching. Please, again, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. And hopefully, I'll see you next time. So, stay tuned for future episodes. Thank you, and goodbye. See you soon.